Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome everybody to today's City of Dayton regular City Council meeting from June 6th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Member Neiman.
Here.
Member Kelly.
Here.
Member Levens.
Here.
Member Wyrick. Member Volter.
Here.
Member Neary.
Here.
Mayor Baker.
Here.
City Administrator Fawcett.
Here.
City Attorney Edmondson.
Here. All in attendance, we appreciate that. Let's go ahead and take a moment to rise for a moment of silence and pledge. And while we rise, let's remember that today was D-Day. 79 years ago, tens of thousands of men and women charged into gunfire and saved the world. So think about them for the moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. As for the mayor's report, I just want to give a huge thanks out to all of our departments today. Fire department, police department, public works, city administration, code enforcement, my wife for making this Memorial Day parade run like a top. Every year it's our biggest day. It's like our birthday party where we show ourselves off, and we did a great job. So well done, everybody, and can't wait to do it again next year. Thanks to all the participants and good job. Do I have an approval of minutes from May 16, 2023?
So moved.
Member Neary's made a movement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Levens. Any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next in the docket would be to open to public comments regarding legislative items on tonight's agenda. So if there's anything on tonight's agenda that you'd like to approach council, administration, the podium is yours. State your name and address. We're going to go ahead and close that then. Moving right along on the ordinances. Tonight is the second reading of ordinance 2023, number 3. Ms. Klein, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you. An ordinance amending Chapter 110 of the City of Dayton, Kentucky Code of Ordinances, including the schedule, occupational license fees businesses owe to the city based on their total gross receipts.
Fantastic reading. Do I have a motion to approve second reading ordinance 2023, number 3?
Move to accept number 2023, number 3.
Member Volder's made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Member Kelly's made a second, which opens it up to comments and concerns from council. Discussion. Anybody want to discuss? All right, so we've had a motion and a second. Okay, roll call, please, Ms. Klein.
Member Kelly.
Aye.
Member Levens.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Ms. Neiman, is your mic on? It sounded soft. It might be on, I don't know.
Jay, we can share.
Okay, all right.
Shares is cool.
By the way, I talked with, we've ordered new microphones. They've been delayed. I talked to Jerry Huntley. He says he's waiting. They should be in any time. We're hoping to get it in for tonight's meeting, but I hope we'll have for the next meeting. So sorry about that.
I can't hear you. Are you on?
Yeah,
I'm
he's
on.
definitely.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'll speak a little closer.
Yeah, he does have that problem. Next on the docket would be second reading of ordinance 2023, number 4. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance adding a new section 3702 and amending section 3704 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances related to the payment, collection, and enforcement of the city's ad valorem property tax.
Thank you for the reading. Do I have a motion to accept 2023 number 4?
So moved.
Member Voller's made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Lovelace made a second. Discussion, comments, concerns, council administration. Roll call, please.
Member Levens,
Aye.
Member Wyrick, Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly.
Aye.
All in favor? The ayes have it. Got a few more of these to go through. Next is the second reading of ordinance 2023 number 5. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance prohibiting the operation of recycling operations and storage of recycling materials in residentially and commercially zoned areas of the city of Dayton.
Thank you for the reading. Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 2023 number 5?
Wait, when can we talk about it?
After the motion and the second. ma'am.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by member Neiman,
Second.
second made by member Volter, which opens it up for conversation. So,
Yeah.
would anybody like to discuss?
Yes, I would. Okay, so criminal penalty, 118, 0.03. A violation of this ordinance shall be a Class A misdemeanor, and a person convicted thereof in a court of competent jurisdiction shall pay a criminal fine not to exceed the maximum amount of $500 and/or serve a term of imprisonment not to exceed the maximum period of 12 months. The penalties provided in this section shall be in addition to any civil fines or civil penalties imposed for violation of other city ordinances. So as I understood it, this is when we have a real problem and we're kind of handing over our autonomy a little bit to the county and having the sheriff come out and criminalize. Is that how this is working?
No.
Like, I don't understand this.
It wouldn't be the
criminal part.
sheriff. So under Kentucky law, city councils can only pass ordinances with crimes that are misdemeanors, which is what this is. This is a misdemeanor. It's up to a year in jail and a $500 fine. It's not a felony. It's a misdemeanor. So the police department, our police department can cite someone for a misdemeanor, just like they would for a misdemeanor littering crime or any other crime we have on our books. They could cite them under this ordinance. Doesn't have to be the sheriff. Once they're cited, the criminal system takes over and it goes to the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor then prosecutes our ordinance in district court.
Okay.
So the reason we're doing this is that our zoning ordinance does talk about these things, but there's no criminal component to it. It's just a fine. And what we have is people that they don't care. We fine them, we do a code enforcement fine, and they just ignore it. And so basically we're left with no other choice. So this gives us another tool in the toolbox to deal with these folks that are blatantly violating our city zoning ordinance, but also making it a criminal matter to operate a recycling business in either a commercial area, which would be like the central business district, or in residential area for people who are living. Industrial areas, it's not included here, but it's commercial and residential.
Okay, so how has the system that has been in place failed? Like, well, what was the regular way we did it? I mean, we cited them when we moved to take their property.
It hasn't failed. We haven't moved to take their property, but we do have a lien on the property but there were code violations. There have been numerous code violations, and Cassie could talk to it. One
Wait,
particular.
are we talking about a specific place? Or just
Yeah,
general?
we're
Okay,
one
I'm talking
partic-
about in general.
In general, we only had one issue that we've dealt with in the past couple of years, and we've cited them, and they just ignored the citations. And we've cited them. That's the problem we have. So what happens is when they ignore the citations, what happens is we have an ordinance that says those citations build up, and they get to a point, a $5,000 limit. And once they get the $5,000 limit, we put a lien on their property saying you have not responded to these claims. There's a lien on your property. And if you don't pay this lien, we have the right to come and foreclose on your property. That's the last resort. We do that at the very last because it's a very draconian approach. So this is just another tool, like I said, in the toolbox that allows us to pursue this criminally rather than through the code enforcement process, because we've done it in the code enforcement process and nothing's happened.
Okay,
mean, something
so
has
then
happened.
In that specific situation or any other situation like it, why haven't you pursued it to where you are going to file and you are going to go after their
We
property?
have, it's right there. We can do that if we want to.
Why
We're,
don't you?
because we wanted to criminally pursue it first, because it just seems like that is the better approach to take at this time.
Because you're not going to take their house.
We were going to take it as a last resort, but
But you're saying this is less draconian.
the gentleman who is the problem does not own the house.
Okay.
He is.
Well, I'm talking about, I mean, this is going to apply for everyone.
Yes,
Because
yes,
it's-
yes,
so
yes,
it's
yes.
not really just targeted to this one.
No, it's not targeted to one
Yeah.
person.
But
So,
how is doing this less draconian than taking the house? You'd rather bring in a criminal component,
Yes.
have him prosecuted possibly to 12 months in jail rather than taking his house.
Yes,
Both
because I
are
think,
bad, but you feel
because I think he'll, if that has that, if anybody has that over their head, I think they're more likely to act than if they are. The foreclosure process takes a year sometimes. You go through it, it's just a long process. This gets done in a matter of weeks or months. It's just a quicker approach to the situation.
so the question is, do you want this problem to drag on for a long, long time? Fine after fine after fine after fine after fine until it reaches the $5,000.
it has, yes,
But you're saying this is for everybody.
right.
So I'm saying let's start at square one with an individual that does the same thing, or four individuals that does the same thing. So the problem is not resolved. The fines keep piling up, they get ignored, and it drags on and on and on. But if they're charged with a misdemeanor and they have to go to court, they'll probably take care of the issue rather than risk jail time.
Right.
So
I
it
mean,
takes,
I
it
think I'd
fixes,
be more afraid of losing my house, but whatever.
but it takes quite a while to get to that point, Beth. So,
Not that long.
oh
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
A year,
that-
2 years? I mean, you know,
Well, I wouldn't want to live next to that for 2 years without the problem being taken care of.
I actually have.
Well, but that's why this is why this ordinance is taking care of that issue. It's resolving that issue quickly rather than to let it drag on and on and on. Nobody wants to take somebody's house anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But-
we've already done this, dragging on that.
But-
That's already happened, and all the citations have already happened. But it's all, so it's like, okay, here we go, the big moment we were waiting for, the 5 or whatever. And now it's like, we're kind of choosing, all right, we're not doing that. We're switching over to like a criminal penalty.
Well,
It's just kind of like,
it's-
why did we, you know?
well, it's definitely the better issue because it takes care of the problem quickly usually, rather than let it drag on and on and on. That's my comment.
If I could maybe shed some light on it too.
Yes, please.
This is the other hat that I wear during the course of the day. I'm dealing with one specifically in the city of Melbourne right now,
The city of what?
Melbourne.
Okay,
And the issue is the city had a concern. There was a tow truck operator that was operating a business out of a small lot that was completely not zoned for that purpose. In addition, he took 3 large storage containers and wrapped them on the front of his property to block the site. Because he said, hey, if people don't like the look of it, I'll just block it. So he said, that's my fencing. The city was having a difficult time because they went after the code enforcement measures, which takes a tremendous amount of time and resource. And he still said, I'm going to pay the fine. I don't care. I'm making enough of my towing. That's the cost of business. They finally prosecuted him. It wound up on my docket. And now the guy realizes, under the same criminal statute, that he's either going to fix it ASAP, remove the trailers, or he's going to face the possibility of going to jail. He's removing the trailers, all in about a month and a half, which they had been dealing with this problem for onwards up to a year. So the threat of him losing his occupation by virtue of having to go to jail up to a year. Now, would that ever happen? No, unlikely. But we, through the course of a year, I'll probably just individually as one county attorney out of 6, I will probably see city criminal nuisance issues such as this and other issues probably 12 times, maybe so in the course of a year. They're always resolved quick. And the cities are so appreciative. The city attorney comes and like, thank you. We've been dealing with this nuisance forever. I'm like, what took you so long? Call us next time. We'll deal with it because the property owners adjacent or wherever are impacted by it. In Melbourne, this was on the main drag. It was like the introduction to their city is this guy that's deliberately ignoring the zoning code. So that was,
like, how does that play out? They come, like, the police come? and
I'll
they're
tell you
like,
exactly. So chief,
Like, it's Monday, here we go. He's
they
doing
would
it.
cite them for this.
Okay.
He would have a criminal citation to come to court. We do it to the county attorney's office. And the county attorney then has him served. There's an arraignment, just like there would be for any criminal charge. They have to come and plead guilty or not guilty. They almost always plead not guilty. We set it for something called a pretrial around 2 to 3 weeks after that, where we say, look, there's just simply not going to be any back and forth. Either you're going to comply or you can try it, which they can always try it to the bench. Some have. And then the court, will set it for a trial. If they can do it for a bench or a jury, if they choose a jury, their peers certainly won't tolerate it because they got to follow all the rules. And so usually it gets set for a bench if it ever makes it that far. So usually within a month and a half to 2 months, the issue is completely resolved. Occasionally, you'll have an extreme circumstance where it would take months just because it's a mitigation issue. But in the case of Bar, the one I was talking about with the trailers, it was fixed immediately. Like in this case, if we were to cite someone for this, I promise you, probably by the time they get to court, it'll be fixed. We would never have that tool in our arsenal from a civil approach of having to serve them, waiting till they file a response, going to code enforcement board, putting a lien on their property, having to foreclose would take, as Jay said, many, many months.
So how does it usually work aside from this particular issue? Like, you're citing and say now they owe 1,000 or whatever. Do most people buckle and pay and clean up the mess? Or is, like, when, not this specific issue, but when would you employ this? Now that it's on the books and it's at your disposal, when would you start sending the cops?
Is that what they?
Before we-
Because you can.
We could care less about them paying. We want them to fix the issue.
Right.
This is not a money grab. This is, your neighbors are living next to issues they don't want to live next to. So I'll let everybody else answer that, but don't say buckle and pay.
Right.
'Cause I think
Yeah,
that gives a bad idea
And the-
because that's like we're out to try to get money.
And
This
it-
is us trying to fix
buckle
the issue.
In terms of changing their behavior, not in terms of hanging up, but
Well, then they should change their behavior. If I'm annoying multiple neighbors in my neighborhood, multiple, including maybe people on this council.
Yeah.
Then I should change my behavior.
yes.
So the
There
thing-
you go.
But you're saying like the fines are effective for most people. You're saying that you won't usually have to use this.
I would say 95% of the time, our code enforcement fines are effective in making people do the right thing. And remember, the $500 fine that would be charged on the criminal penalty doesn't go to the city, it goes to the state's court system. We don't see any of that money.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not suggesting we're gouging people for cash. That's not what I mean.
Some are.
Ooh, what do you mean?
Some people say that this is a money grab.
Oh, no.
No, I've
Well,
seen
then
that.
say that clearly for the world. It's not a money grab.
We're trying to avoid the money grab. The only way you can grab money is foreclose on the house. So we're
Right.
trying to get what we need done
Well, not
and
really, if they
accomplished
pay their
without doing that.
fines, right?
Right, but
But then they get another fine.
that means you can't ignore the fines and just say, screw it, which is what's been happening. So
You have one tool and it's to take their house.
that's basically it.
You want
That's-
another
that-
tool and that is to use the police.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Anything else, Member Neiman? The floor is still open for anybody who'd like to address council administration regarding ordinance 2023 number 5. Well, we've had a motion by Member Neiman and a second by Member Volter. Do I have a roll call, please?
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Levins.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next on the docket will be second reading of ordinance 2023 number 6. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance adding a new section 7215 titled vehicles carrying recycling materials to the Dayton Code of Ordinances.
That was the second reading. Do I have a motion to accept 2023 number 6?
I'll make the motion for 2023-6.
You have a question? Oh, she made a motion. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. We have a motion by member Lovin. Do I have a second to accept 2023 number 6?
I'll make the second.
Second's been made by member Kelly. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns? 2023 number 6. Yes, please.
I'd like to make it clear for the 4 people that watch this. So, this isn't about picking stuff off the curbs because you want to repaint it and shabby chic it. It isn't all that. It's about keeping stuff on your property.
Not on your property, on city streets. So this is parking
Oh,
regulation, only
okay.
applies to public streets.
Okay. Residentially and commercially zoned areas.
So this is the one about vehicles. You're allowed to,
Vehicles parking for 8 hours or less.
yeah, so you're
Okay.
allowed to have you're allowed to be a scrapper, or you're allowed to work at a house for 8 hours if you're scrapping it or you're rehabbing it, whatever, but you just can't leave that truck parked 24 hours over the weekend. You have to move it from that spot after 8 hours. If you keep it longer than 8 hours, you could be cited. It's a parking violation. It's not a misdemeanor. It's just a simple violation.
I wondered about the 8-hour limit, just because of all the rehabbing that I see going on and all of that, when they're actively working, they're at those houses longer
Right.
than 8 hours.
Dumpsters are fine. They can stay there as long as you have a permit through the city.
Right, but even
But-
if they're like putting them in, taking stuff out and putting it in the car, if it's their work truck and they're working a 10-hour day, that car is going to be parked for more than 8 hours.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be, of course, it's always about enforcement and when you use it. I think this is really designed to keep people from parking overnight. And so whenever you get done, if you're working an extra couple hours during the day and you move your truck afterwards, I don't think it's going to be a problem. But if you're keeping your truck there for three days overnight with junk in it, then that's going to be a problem. So I mean, we could make it, if you wanted to amend it, you could make it 10 hours. We just did 8 hours because most people work an 8-hour week, or an 8-hour day. But if you wanted to do longer than that, we could do that.
I mean, I just know the construction folks on our street are working a
Yeah.
lot more than 8 hours, especially in the summertime.
Well,
Yeah,
and
with the
they're
long
filling up the
days.
truck, and they move it, and they come back, and that starts a whole new 8-hour period. So most of the time, after 8 hours, you're going to have a truck filled up. You're going to take them somewhere
Right.
within 8 hours. But again, like I said, we just did 8 hours because that's generally the work hours of the day, and we could make it 10 hours, make it 12 hours, whatever you all want to do. But that's just an arbitrary number we came up with.
I mean, I think it's pretty black and white and common sense that if, whether it be Chief or Cassie, pull up and see me carrying and working, they're not going to cite you for it.
Right.
I mean,
But they could if it's not what's written.
about 99.9, that's not going to happen.
The bigger problem we have is that people collect junk and then they bring it to their house and park it right in front of their house over the weekend, So that's the bigger issue, which is really intended to try to do. So people are actively working on a house. That's not the issue. It's mainly folks that are scrapping or they're cleaning a house and they don't go dump it out. They just bring it home and keep it there all weekend. That's just not acceptable for the neighbors. They have to live with that.
Do we have any other comments regarding? Sorry, mic wasn't on. Do we have any other comments regarding 23 number 6? Motion and a second been made. Roll call, please, Ms. Klein.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Levens,
I
Member Volter.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next on the docket, on the long docket of second readings today, will be the second reading of ordinance 2023 number 7. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance adopting the City of Dayton, Kentucky's annual budget for the fiscal year running from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the city to the full extent authorized by KRS 82082 and interpretive case law.
Thank you, ma'am. And that was a second reading of ordinance 2023 number 7. Do I have a motion to accept 2023 number 7?
I'll make the motion.
Member Neiman's made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second was made by Member Lovins, which opens up the conversations with council and administration. Does anybody like to comment?
Yes.
Please do, sir.
I have a question that's sort of related to the budget. So most of our budget outstanding debt is related to the Riverfront Commons grants that we have on phase 2, 3, and 4. So as I've gone through the Northern Kentucky river cities, I see no one else working on the Riverfront Commons. So I wonder if, or the trail, so I wonder if there is a comprehensive plan that outlines each Northern Kentucky river city's obligations, timeline, expenses, how they're funding their part of the trail, or are we going to complete our trail and be an island? So that's my question. I would like somebody to research that.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to be an island, then I say we do phase 2 and shut it down.
So I can tell you that I work with South Bank Partners on this. I don't know if they have exactly those things you talked about in place, but Covington just finished a section from the end of their flood wall on the west side of the city up to the big turn into Ludlow. And they're now trying to get the section that would go from that terminus into River Road and Ludlow. So that's underway. Bellevue's getting ready to start a section that will run from their parking garage, parking area there near the condos on the river, and then connect down on the street that runs into the park. So they're getting ready to do that. And they also have a grant out to connect from their park into our trail system here at the western terminus of it. So there are active grants out there that are ready to happen, but I don't know that South Bank has a certain timeline on when things are going. But we should probably invite Will Weber to come here to a meeting maybe next month and kind of go through where everything is. I think he could probably fill us in on those details.
Yeah, because I'd like to know that, because if it's going to be 20 years down the road or whatever,
Yeah.
so there might be adjustments we might want to make.
And I've worked with South Bank before I came to this job for about 10 years. So yeah, there are a lot of grants that are out there percolating. It's just that we're all reaching for the same pot of money. That's the problem. It all goes through OKI, and these grants all come from a similar pot of money. So we're all getting little pieces of it, but not a big piece. So,
Okay.
but I think Will would be a good person to come talk about that.
That'd be great to have
Okay,
him.
I'll invite him.
Okay, thank you.
So
Thank you,
does
Mr.
that
Volker.
affect your vote?
Thank you, Mr. Volter. Do you have any other comments, questions, concerns regarding the second reading of the ordinance? All right, comments are closed. Can I have a roll call, please?
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Levins,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary.
You guys have it. Next on the docket be second reading of ordinance 2023 number 8. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance amending section 38008C1 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances related to appeals of code enforcement citations.
That is a second reading. Do I have a motion to accept 2023 number 8?
Move to accept 2023 number 8.
Member Volter's made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Neiman. Opens it up for discussion. Any council like to discuss? Roll call, please, Mr. Klein.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Levens,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary, Member Neiman.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Rolling right along to second reading of ordinance number 2023, number 9. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance amending the City of Dayton, Kentucky's annual budget for the fiscal year running from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the city to the full extent authorized by KRS 82082 and interpretive case law.
Thank you for the reading. Do I have a motion to accept number 2023, number 9?
I'll make that motion.
Member Neiman's made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Kelly. Which opens it up for questions, comments, concerns. Anybody up for questions, comments, or concerns? And close it. Roll call, please, Ms. Klein.
Member Levens,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary, Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bless you.
Thank you.
Only 2 left in their first readings. So the first reading of ordinance 2023, number 10, please, Ms. Klein.
An ordinance closing and vacating 2 alleys located in the blocks bounded by 3rd Avenue, Clay Street, 5th Street, and Green Devils Lane.
I believe all council have received this in their packets.
Provide a little background on it.
Please do, sir.
So as you all know, the Dayton School System has acquired property, the old API building, and also 4 apartments that are on Clay. In the future plans to do an athletic complex between Lincoln Elementary and the high school. In the blocks that are bounded by that, which would be 3rd Avenue, Clay, 5th, and Green Devils Lane, there are 2 city alleys that exist. They are they're perpendicular to each other. They have to be closed if they were to use that spot. So since they own the property on both sides of these alleys now, if they're closed, that property by state law would go to them, be used in this development. So that's why we're doing this, and they need to do this to move forward with the demolition process. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, sir. Next will be a first reading of ordinance 2023, number 11. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance adopting an updated code of ethics and authorizing the city to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement with the Northern Kentucky Regional Ethics Authority and the cities and counties who are members of this authority.
Mr. Fawcett.
Yes, I sent an email out to the city council on this about a week ago or so. The city is required to have an ethics ordinance under state law. Our ordinance has not been updated in over 20 years, and it's kind of out of date. There's been changes that we need to incorporate. So what we're doing is 2 things here. We're adopting an updated version of the ethics ordinance that complies with state law, and we're also asking the council to allow us to become a member of the Regional Ethics Board. So there are, like, I think what I said, 20 cities and 1 county, Pendleton County, that are on this board, and the mayors make an overseeing board. Each mayor or the judge executive of Pendleton County are on a board that oversees it, and that body appoints, I think it's 10 members to a board that hears ethics complaints. So if we have an ethics complaint here, it would go to that board. If Bellevue has one, it goes to that board. If Covington has one, it goes to that board. So it's a $600, it's an $800 annual cost to be there, but we're having major problems filling our ethics board, and they really have never met except to send out financial disclosures to city council candidates and city council members. So it seems to me that they have a board that's doing this on a regular basis and has the support of NKADD, which is the body that kind of is the administrative support for this. Makes sense to me. And it's a small expense for the benefit of having a professional board listening to any complaints that may arise. And I think it also creates a nice separation from people that live in the community that may be hearing cases about ethics complaints about someone who works or lives in that community with them. So I would recommend that we do it.
Thank you, Mr. Fawcett. Again, that's just the first reading of 2023, number 11.
I have a question. So you said that the ethics board has been meeting, what are they meeting about again? Like they hardly ever meet?
Financials?
It's about financials and releasing them to city council and,
So they have two kind of functions primarily. One is to hear any complaints, any ethics complaints that are filed against a city employee, a city council member, or anybody who works with the city.
how many of those have there been like the last 4 years?
None. So
Wow.
we've had none of the complaints. Not during my time here. Those have been-
I thought they did it for every election.
No, I'm talking about ethics complaints.
Oh, no.
So that's
zero.
one thing. The other thing they do is that you're required to have foreclosure, you're required to have disclosures, you all as city council members and certain non-elected officials are required to give disclosures about their finances to the Ethics Commission. And that's required of every candidate as well as every council member and some employees. They meet once a year to make sure they get those and review those. That's the only thing they've done. And they only meet every 2 years, I think. I guess they have to do it every year. I guess they meet every year to do that. The problem is we only have one on the board right now, 2 people, one moved out of town, one resigned. And so we don't even have the 3 people that our ordinance requires to have on the board. So
So you only need 3.
we need 3 people if
And
we
you have
can.
one.
And we only have 1.
Thank you.
An additional commentary on this, says an ordinance adopting an updated code of ethics and authorizing the city to enter the agreement. Before we do the second reading and vote, I would like to see, in plenty of time to analyze the updated code of ethics.
It's all in the ordinance, so it's included in here. The whole update, yeah, it's pretty long. If you look to see, it says City of Dayton Code of Ethics, and it's 15, 17, 21 pages long.
I must not have gotten that in my email. I'll check.
Okay, let me know. You can have, here, you can have my copy.
Has everybody received that? It's right here, and then handing it out. Thank you.
There were only 20 attachments.
Again, that's just the first reading. We're going to have a whole 30-plus days to overlook that. Ask questions as you like to Mr. Fawcett. Come back next month. We'll talk about it again.
The code of ethics that you have there is something that NKADD provided to me. It's the model that based on the KLC model. So this is what all the other cities that are a member of that organization adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Fawcett. Any further commentary, unless there is some? Move along to order resolution 2023, number 20, Romeo, and that's Ms. Klein, please.
An order resolution authorizing Mayor Benjamin Baker to sign the joiner agreement with KDC for participation in the 457 plan and the 401k plan for the benefit of the City of Dayton's eligible employees.
That is order resolution 2023, number 20, Romeo. Do I have a motion to accept?
You want background on this?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So we're required every year to, actually, did you receive this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
Every year we're required to do this, right? To do it.
I think it's every 4 years.
Every 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Every 4 years, we participate in this plan, we have to do this joint agreement with KDC. So it's simply housekeeping matter.
So actually, this is something that's already in place. It's been in
Yes.
place.
Yes, it's already in place.
So I have a motion to accept order 2023, number 20, Romeo.
I'll make that motion.
Member Kelly's made the motion. I have a second.
So moved.
Member Voters made his second. Time for comments, questions, concerns. All right, can I have a roll call, please, on 2023 number 20, Romeo?
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary, Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Levens.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The last order resolution of this session would be 2023 number 21, Romeo. Ms. Klein, please.
An order resolution of the Dayton City Council sponsoring a text amendment to the city's zoning ordinance allowing both attached and detached single-family residential dwellings in the R1JJ zone.
Mr. Fawcett, some backstory?
Yeah, so background on this is that Cindy Minter met with a developer who wants to build some single-family attached homes on 7th Avenue. There's a large lot kind of, I guess, east of Boone up to where that little alley connects to Benham. So it's an empty lot, and he wants to put 4 or 5 units there. But right now, the R1JJ only allows unattached units. You cannot have detached or attached units. It only allows detached units. So what a lot of cities have done, Bellevue just changed their ordinances to allow, zoning ordinance to allow this. They're allowing these attached structures in their residential zones that previously did not allow attached structures. So I think he wants to take advantage of the views that you have from there, and these structures will go up probably 2-3 stories with parking underneath. So the process is, since it's the text amendment, only the city council can ask for a text amendment. The developer can't do that. He can ask for his own change, but he can't ask for a text amendment, which is changing the text of the zoning ordinance. So the process is, we have to support that, and then it goes to the planning commission to be vetted. They have a public hearing, and they make a recommendation to you all, and then if you are in favor of it, you enact an ordinance, which takes 2 readings, like all our ordinances, to change the text to allow it. So that's what this is.
So this is just a first step in many steps.
Yeah, it's probably be a 3-month process at least.
So the council having an opportunity again to reconsider.
They ultimately will decide whether to allow this text amendment or not after they get the recommendation from the planning commission.
Gotcha. Given this is an ordinance, a resolution, do we have any questions for Mr. Fawcett?
My concern is that we need more density in the city. You've got a lot of empty lots side by side that would benefit from something like this. In that regard, I totally support it. How would this preclude someone from building multiple side-by-side units, and they would be like what they're about to tear down over here, rental apartments?
Those are, like 2 families, like the 2 families.
You could build townhouses, one beside the other, call them townhouses, but they would be the same builder, and what's to preclude him from saying, okay, these are apartments?
Yeah,
Not that I'm opposed to apartments, but
right.
that can get out of control.
I think you'll have, you could probably fashion your text amendment to address those concerns, and we should talk to Cindy about that if that's a concern. So, but I don't know that you can prohibit people from renting single-family homes or any condos. I think that there's,
If the
Can
same
you
person.
repeat what you said?
I don't know that you can prevent people from renting single-family homes unless there's some.
Single family, in other words, let's say you have 3 of them side by side. If the same person owns all 3 of them, obviously if you only own one, then you come under Airbnb or whatever, rental issues. But if I build all 3 of them, what's to preclude me from calling that an apartment complex in an R1JJ?
It's not an apartment complex unless it's got common areas. These all have separate entrances, just like a regular single-family home.
What's the concern?
Well, I think his concern is pretty simple. It's if you put a series of townhomes
Right.
wherever, his question is, can they all be rented?
I don't think Alex, and you can help me on this, but I don't know that you can prevent people from renting their homes if they own the property.
Well, the only way it's being done right now is short term, because you can't prevent it otherwise.
Why would you want to?
Well, because when you attach buildings, it's much cheaper than building separate units. So.
That's the reason.
Yeah, and so if you get an individual who wants to build a line of 6 or 7 wherever, because it's so much cheaper, and then rent out all of those, then you get increased rental properties. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like right now, the market is so awful or good, depending on what you own, that a lot of people need rental units. I mean,
Oh, and I'm not against.
you know,
I'm
like
not
I'm
against
looking,
it.
it's 300,000. I mean, you know, I don't,
yeah, his
280.
his question was, can you rent them all out?
Yeah.
And the answer, I think, is yes, you can.
Yes.
And I think my understanding is that this would be rather high-end, so even if it were rental, I think would be high-end rental, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But, you know, we always are encouraging home ownership. We prefer to have that, quite honestly, but some people are here for a short period of time. They don't want to have a home, or they can't afford it.
I think the other issue is that we probably can consider is that in our R1 JJ zone, we don't have big spaces.
That's exactly right.
So it's very doubtful that we're going to have that situation exist in the middle of town somewhere.
This is one of the few
Uh,
infill situations we have in our residential zones without being on a hillside with major costs associated that you could build on.
Yeah, we're pretty landlocked, so.
Yeah. I mean, most of the lots we have that are infill are between 2 other single-family homes, which are basically, you only put 1 home in it. So this is not going to be a situation where we have a whole lot of these, I don't think. Maybe if you go out Mary Ingles or something where you can put together a few, but in the core, not too many.
Yeah, I mean, the developer can come in and buy a couple of the houses just to get the lots
That happens,
and put in, what do they call
but
it? Attached.
we can always, you know, limit the density if we wanted to allow the, you know, attached. We can always limit the density based on, and that happens all the time. Just what language you use in your text amendment. So it can be done. You can limit the density if you are concerned about too much density on piece of
When does
property.
that qualify as a multifamily rental? And is a multifamily rental, a new one, not grandfathered in, allowed in an R1 JJ?
So, I mean, again, we'll have to address that. Bellevue's done it, a lot of cities are doing it, and they're calling it single-family attached. It's not multifamily.
So if each structure is a single family, then it's not multifamily.
That's correct. Just the only difference is they're common walls are touching each other. I lived in a townhouse in Covington, 4 of them together. They had a common wall. It's the same thing. They were all single-family. Wasn't an apartment complex. We all owned it.
So I just want clarification on that.
So he's got a homeowner, you know, I've seen like a rough plan, but there is going to be a homeowners association. So I think his intent is to make it single-family homes. No, everybody who lives there has to contribute because there's going to be common upkeep of roofs and common areas. So I think his plan is to be single-family, but, you know, I don't know that you can prohibit a single-family, someone who owns a single-family home from renting it to a third party.
But if they were rentals, that would fall into the rental inspection and occupational license.
Absolutely, they would.
I mean, you know, every city has row homes. Call them what you want, but row homes is the old term.
Now-
And that gives you the density.
Now, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Now, because there's an HOA, they can control, for example, the percentage of rentals. Let's say there's 8 attached homes, and the HOA says that 25% of these can be rented.
Right.
They can control that.
I think so. I mean, individual agreements have a lot more, individual organizations like that have a lot more leeway, but you got to be careful of housing issues as well.
Well, so in their master, right, in their master provisions and what they talk about, they can absolutely control that amongst themselves. They can referee in a private setting whenever they choose to without being discriminatory.
Yeah, as long as you don't discriminate on, you know,
You can't
Gender,
discriminate based by
race.
speaker's not working, but based upon, they call it familial, which is the definition for federal law, which is you can't discriminate based upon the size of a family.
Right.
The question is that, you know, can they limit, just like an HOA in Florida, for people versus renting versus owner occupied?
Right.
So, and they're doing it all over the country.
HOAs have a lot more flexibility than cities do with their zoning ordinances.
So they can form an HOA, but they are not required to.
No, but it'd be hard to have an attached family development without an HOA. You have common roofs, you have common things. So I think any developer worth their salt is going to put an HOA in place to deal with those issues in the future.
I just see where this could really change some neighborhoods for the better, I think, in many cases, any new construction. But I worry about somebody doing an end run on us.
Well, I think we need to make sure we do a text language that Cindy understands our concerns and is able to incorporate language in there that addresses that.
An order, oh, sorry. My microphone held me off. Says order resolution 2023 number 21 Romeo. Do we have a motion to accept?
Move to accept 2023-21 Romeo.
Member Boulders made the motion to accept. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Member Lovins made a second, which again opens it up for any discussions, comments, concerns. Roll call, please, Ms. Clyde.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Levins,
Aye.
Member Volter.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Which concludes this evening's first readings, second readings, and resolutions. And moves us along to everyone's favorite, the Department Director's Monthly Reports. So let me find my wheel here. I had to forget about it. Ladies first. Ms. Patterson.
So you have a copy of my report. I just wanted to go over, so the new rental inspector started this week. He started sending out letters. We have,
Might want to get closer or turn it up.
we have,
Yeah, get it closer. I'm not going to be able to hear you.
we have, so far we've received 339 applications that have been sent in for a total of 961 units. We have about 180 right now that are, we've sent out a notice that, a citation that they've not paid. And he's going to start probably not next week, but the week after, doing inspections.
Right.
So we have done a few that were scheduled, and he's done a great job.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Got a good team working on it. We also acquired 2 iPads that will be doing the inspections on them in real time, taking photographs on the iPads and uploading those. At the same time, we're working through our vendor that provides us with code enforcement services and inspection services, and we've been working through building the forms we
Permit
need.
management, things like
Yeah.
that. We're trying to get everything to kind of talk to each other. So we've spent a lot of time in trainings with our program and things like that, trying to get everything together so that we can make everything work together.
Right.
The front end, the back end, because Angie's putting things in that now that we can see, so it's,
And our part-time inspector's working as of, I guess, last week. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're moving along, so it's
doing a
good.
good job. Yeah. Any questions? I plan on bringing him next month. By next month, we'll have a couple of inspections under his belt, so just kind of maybe talk a little bit about it, can meet him and things like that, so.
Good.
So far, so good.
I got 3 things.
Joe,
Number one,
Joe, your microphone.
On the report, there's quite a few of them that don't have a description on there.
Those are
Again,
all the rentals.
Well, what is the violation?
It's rental, and so they haven't paid the rental. There's no violation. It's actually a letter. I can send you a copy of the letter tomorrow that I send out. the violation just automatically pulls in on the letter. So it doesn't pull from our drop down, but I'll send you a copy. of the
Okay,
letter.
so if the description is blank, we can presume that that's the case.
That's right,
All right.
That they haven't paid their rental fee.
correct,
Okay, inspection fee.
correct.
The other thing going through the report here, I've seen comments and heard comments that code enforcement is nothing but a cash grab and an HOA and everything else. I would say 95% of the property owners on this list do not live in Dayton.
Correct.
So I applaud you for going after especially the out-of-town owners, and I know how difficult that is trying to communicate with them. Third thing I wanted to bring up was on the latest budget report, code fines for rental violations. We had initially budgeted that we would bring in $20,000 in those code fines.
The 40, I think.
Right now, you're at $50,000, which I applaud you on that. That means you're actually really working with people, but also finding them and collecting the fines too. And it's much appreciated.
And we do get like I talked to you before about the vacant properties that we send through to foreclosure. We do get, I don't want to say a large amount from there, but a lot of that does come from the foreclosure process. And we do get, code fines people send in, vacant property registration. That's $500 every 6 months, $1,000 a year after that, and people pay it. So
This foreclosure process takes a while, at least a year usually. So a lot of stuff we started a year ago is finally coming to fruition. Those properties are being sold, people are buying them, and we're recovering our legal fees and our code fines as a result of that in most cases.
and it's a process, like we said, foreclosures can take a year, year and a half, 2 years, so, yeah. All right, thank you. Oh, are you watering the flowers? No,
Joe.
That's going to do it.
Joe. Rick wanted me to make sure to ask if somebody is watering the flowers.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Next up, since we're not doing the wheel, do fire. Chief Atkins.
Thank you, sir. You all have my report. I don't have a whole lot to add to it this month. Did the free community-wide CPR class. If we get some more interest, we may try to do another one in a couple months. Other than that, I really don't have much to add this month.
Any vacancies? How's the employment? Everybody doing all right?
I'm sorry.
Any vacancies? How's the
So I
employment?
have one vacancy. We've got some applications in, so we're going to try to start working on this, doing some interviews next couple of weeks. I do have promotions I've been working on right now because of retirement. So it's a ripple effect that creates promotions. So we're doing that. That's about it, really. But everybody else has vacancies too. We're all fighting for the same bite of the apple.
Gotcha. Any questions for Chief Atkins? Thank you to the bravest. Now for the finest.
All right, you guys have my report for the month. Seems like May picked up a little bit, so we're a little bit busy. One thing I did add to the report, I think it was the out-of-state plate citations. I think that was something that was requested. It is a slow process, but it's one car at a time, so it's not going to happen overnight, but we're getting them slowly but surely. Yeah. And just to put out there that now that Memorial Day has been here, curfew has changed. It will be from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and midnight to 6 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays. Police department are not the babysitters of the children. 3 have already been picked up for violating this, and the parents have been cited. So the parents are being cited. So if you want to allow your children to run around the streets all hours of the night, the parents will be responsible for making sure they're in court. They go to court with the children, but the parents get cited for allowing their children out. So it's already been a week or so, and we've already got 3 violators. So we're trying to keep a good grasp on that.
Chief, let's tell them a little bit about the meeting we had with Enterprise about the possibility of leasing police vehicles rather than buying them. We had a very interesting meeting, Jared and I, with a gentleman representing from
Jeremy Baldwin, Jeremy Baldwin with Enterprise. At our last police chiefs meeting in Bellevue, I talked, L&W Equipment, they do our vehicles. They equip them with the lights, the sirens, all that, radios. They are now going to do the striping, which will last longer. The previous one that we had, you can see the lettering's coming off on some vehicles. So we have 2 vehicles that we're going to stripe. But Taylor Mill went to a program which is kind of a lease to own. What they did is they have 3 vehicles that they lease. It's a 5-year lease. And after 5 years, you have an option to purchase those vehicles. They are your vehicles. Or you can trade them in and start that cycle all over again. Those vehicles are covered under warranty. Our cruiser repairs are pretty high. Getting the age of our vehicles. When you have a home fleet, you got to kind of transfer vehicles out, and we haven't been able to do that in the last couple of years. And you can see it with our cruiser repairs. So this would cut down on the cruiser repairs. I provided Jeremy and Jay with our statistics and how much we were paying for each vehicle, how many miles each vehicle has, the year, the make, and mileage. And I do have I don't think I did get that to you, how much we're paying for each. Our new program has, it's pretty eye-opening to see how much each vehicle it's costing to fix.
And the other advantage is they say that the resale value is quite high. You can almost get, return on
actually get money back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can actually get money back. So, and that it's not actually just the police department. It can involve the fire department. It can be public works, code enforcement. Code enforcement needs a vehicle because they have our hand-me-down vehicles right now, and it doesn't work very well.
So we're looking at what we would put in capital. We could probably get close to 3 vehicles for the cost of 1 cruiser. So we're getting the numbers. Jared's we're gonna run them, check them, see what they look like, and we'll make a recommendation based on what we find out. It may not be as rosy as it sounds like, but it sounds interesting, and it might be cost effective because those warranties will cover a lot of the repairs we are now paying for.
Yeah, these are newer vehicles, so obviously they're not going to break down as much, and if they do, most of them are covered under warranties. So like I said, it is something we are looking at. Taylor Mill seems to enjoy it, and there's several through the state of Kentucky. I mean, a numerous amount that do this program. It's not nothing new. It's a little newer up to northern Kentucky, but Indiana, Ohio, and lower parts, southern parts of Kentucky do this. So it could be beneficial.
So we'll keep you abreast on what's going on with that when we have more details.
Administration or council, have any more questions, comments?
Yeah, similar to what I said to Ms. Patterson, I'm looking at the budget, general fund here. For motor vehicle tax, we had predicted an income of $125,000. And as of the end of May, it's $188,000. So that is what, $63,000 over budget, which is like 2 police cruisers. So obviously your efforts at following up on out-of-state tags, expired tags, et cetera, I think that might be partly reflected in that.
Well, now with Enterprise too, it's easier to get vehicles. It is really hard right now to purchase vehicles. The price of a vehicle has gone up to almost $50,000 to $60,000 per vehicle to equip one. So that price is what I'm budgeted for. I'm budgeted if I'm going to buy one outright, it would be 1. And it might take a while. It might be till November before we get it. Enterprise is able to get those quickly, and everybody's just fighting, trying to find.
And they get big discounts too because of the
discounts.
volume of cars they purchase overall. So they could they hand that down to us, so.
And I am providing every month for the parking, for our parking app, we can have a rundown of the list of things we're citing for, so you see what all we're doing.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Chief. The last person who would be speaking tonight is Public Works. He's not able to make it. Does anybody have any questions to administration regarding Public Works? Well, look forward to see you, Rick, next month. Mr. Fawcett, it's time for your city administrator's report, sir.
Okay, just a couple of things. Speaking of next month, we're going to have a different meeting day because first Tuesday next month is July 4th. So
What's going on that day?
So I think some people are going to be a little busy that day. So we might want to just go ahead and schedule that 2 weeks later or our other alternative date, which would be, the 18th, I guess. So.
Hope everybody enjoys a happy 4th. Ms. Klein, if you make note that we will be meeting the third Tuesday of the month. Be safe and remember why we celebrate.
That's a regularly scheduled meeting, so it's not a special meeting, so we don't need a special meeting agenda. Anything can be discussed at that meeting. The only other thing is that the Long Way to Bump Out project, we're hopeful that we'll get started this week. The last hiccup was a change order that was going through the very slow KYTC process. It finally got approved last week, Friday. So we're hoping that in the next, week, this project's going to start. But I just sent an email to the contractor today saying, can you give me a date? I want to share it. I haven't heard anything back yet. So just want to let you know.
Who are we waiting on?
The only thing we were waiting on was a change order that had to be approved by KYTC, which was actually a change order that reduced the price other than add them to the price, but it still had to be approved by KYTC, which we got for late Friday afternoon. So that was the last holdup. So it should be ready to go. And Mike Yeager's been on them, and I think we're expecting them to be here any day. So I'm hoping this week or next week at the latest.
So it's not Atlanta, it's not the contractor,
it's
it's not Duke anymore, it's KYTC once again.
Well, Alita had a change order, and the change order had to go through the KYCT process. So it's a little bit of everybody, but that's what it was. So that was the last holdup. So there shouldn't be any holdup now. So
With that in mind, Mr. Fawcett, I received a complaint today regarding the intersection of Belmont and Dayton, Upper Belmont and Dayton, with some sidewalk issues. Those are going to be corrected right after the bump outs, correct?
yeah, so we had an issue on the Belmont sidewalks that Cincinnati Bell had a pole right in the middle of the sidewalk. So there was a section there that couldn't be finished. It's been that way for a while. Cincinnati Bell took forever to move it. They moved it not as far as I'd like it, but it's enough that we can finish the sidewalk. So when the concrete work starts on the bump outs, that will be done as well. So that's Alita's the same contractor, so they'll just go there and finish that. We also have to put a parking space down at the Stumple property at the bottom of Boone. I made out of asphalt because that's a requirement when we did the sidewalk project. That one should be done here in the next few weeks too.
I thank the citizens for bringing that to our attention. Any questions, comments, concerns for Mr. Fawcett on his report this month? Thank you very much. Now is the time for audience to address council with anything that they'd like to address us about.
The audience, I suppose.
Yes, sir. Look forward to
My
it.
name is Dave Cupsa, or David Cupsa. I live at 256 Manhattan Boulevard, apartment 417. The last name is spelled Kobza. And regarding the parking violations, there happens to be in my parking spot or in my place, out-of-state plate with 2020 registration tag. It's been there for a couple of years, and it happens to be the manager of the property. So that's one. Next, I am here because I was talking to the developer, Brendan, I think is his name, the other day about an issue that was with our building. And then I asked him if he knew that there was, on the property here and on the riverfront, that, if you ever heard of a plant called Japanese knotweed? Any of you heard of Japanese knotweed? Okay, well, it's growing like a jungle. People think it's probably bamboo. And I have a handout here that I'll give to you so you know, I'm not just bring up issue. This is something from the Kentucky Woodlands magazine in April 2010, which has what to do to mitigate this problem. So it's a problem, and I recognized it as because I used to live in Scotland, and I have friends who own property. And when the word knotweed came up, it's like the Americans' asbestos or lead. So it's a highly invasive plant, and I'll hand out if you would like it. See this?
One of the issues with knotweed, we ran into that in Sergeant Park, which it's invasive there too.
Well,
The pro-
it's not where property is.
Well, the problem is, it's in a watershed, and there's no herbicide currently approved that would address Japanese knotweed that can be used near a water source. So that would preclude being able to use it along the riverbank also. According to the gentleman from NKU that helped us with that tree planting project, they may be coming out with an herbicide soon. Maybe that's something worth investigating, whether or not it's been approved. But again, being right close to the water is where you got to really be careful with using any kind of chemicals.
Understood. With that remark, I was walking through the Queen City parking lots, Queen City Riverboats. There's like 3 55-gallon tanks there. 2 are white and 1 are blue. I think earlier it had like a flammable liquid sticker on it, but it's gone now. I was just wondering, it's unsecured. What's in it? Who knows? So that's another thing that I've seen. And
Chief, could you maybe check that out? Okay.
And I know I'm here and I come and I bring up some issues, but I was an inspector in my previous life. So I look at things and see there's issues there. I mean, I know that there's knotweed on the property that I live on too, although it's not as bad as the Long River. So that's really why I'm here, just to let people know that it exists and that it could be a problem in the future. So, oh, and I had a question because I'm a relatively new Kentucky citizen. And I guess, is it a requirement or not a requirement for a ballot for an election to be publicly distributed prior to the election?
For what to be distributed?
A ballot